not only startups that benefit from collaborations, so do corporates. I will now introduce to you David Aitken, Carbon Trust UK, that will describe two models for emerging opportunities. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm David Aitken from the innovation team at the Carbon Trust. It's great to be here today and have the opportunity to speak to you. So I'd just like to give you some sense of what I'd like to cover today. The first is just to give you a quick reminder or refresher on some of the reasons why cleantech is a challenging sector to operate. That's really to tee up the discussion that will follow around some of the models that we've used to try and overcome these challenges. It'll focus on the Carbon Trust and some of the things that we've done, but hopefully the lessons that emerge from some of these discussions are useful. I'll then go on to discuss some of the case studies around companies that we've worked with through various models, and I'd like to leave a little bit of time at the end for some questions just to get a bit of feedback or hopefully answer some things that I may not have covered off. So firstly, a lot of these things will be familiar to you, but cleantech's a pretty challenging space. It's a big opportunity for sure, but there's a number of things that make cleantech very difficult, and you'll no doubt be aware of most, if not all, of these. It takes a long time to get to market. It often takes a lot of money. There's a lot of uncertainty around regulation. And it's pretty tough for startup companies to engage in the sector. At times, there's limited functionality benefit. If you're a renewable energy company, you produce electricity. It doesn't really matter so much to the consumer. In many cases, whether it's green electrons or brown electrons, it's the same stuff coming out of the plug. There's a lot of challenges in this space, and that leads to a number of problems for startups. It can put challenges in the way of the startup because they find it difficult to convince investors that there'll be sufficient returns from engaging with them. Often there's a variety of different regulations that you get in different places, and for startups that are perhaps only active in some of those areas, it's hard to have the global reach to diversify your exposure to different regulations. It can be difficult to get early adopters for your technology if that functionality benefit is not there. It's not like the cool new iPhone 5 or other innovations in perhaps some other sectors that benefit from that early adopter uptake. So it's a challenging space, but it's a big opportunity. And here's some data from some of the investment trends that we've seen in cleantech. So I guess there's good news and bad news here. The good news is that broadly cleantech investment volumes have been increasing over time globally, which is great. But I guess what we've seen in recent years in particular is a move towards later stage financing, and it's getting harder, I think, in a lot of places for startups to access the seed, Series A, early stage capital that they need to get to market. So some mixed news on the investment front. Some of you may be familiar with what the Carbon Trust does, but in case you're not, I'll just give you a quick introduction. So the Carbon Trust has been around for about 10 years. It was originally UK-based and was funded primarily by the UK government to accelerate the move to a low-carbon economy and help businesses and the public sector respond to the challenge of climate change. Over time, our activities have evolved, and broadly there's three main things that we do now. The first is around advice to governments and corporates in the UK and elsewhere around the risks and opportunities in a low-carbon world. The second is around footprinting, looking in particular at product footprinting, supply chain footprinting, and trying to push the boundaries in footprinting in ways that customers will benefit. And the third is around technology. So that's deploying existing technologies that reduce carbon emissions, but also developing new technologies. And that's the bit of the Carbon Trust that I work in. So over the 10 years that we've been active, we've worked with a whole range of clients, public and private sector, and we've built up a lot of experience. And this is just to give you a quick sense of the three main things that we do within the innovation team. So the first is to help people prioritise their innovation activity and think about areas to focus on and things to get involved in. The second is to set up specific or particular initiatives to address those priority areas that people are interested in. And the third is to then go on and deliver those activities. And for various clients, we'll work at different points along that chain, sometimes across all three, sometimes just in particular areas. Okay. So the first model that I'd like to discuss with you in a bit more detail as one of the ways that we've helped to address some of those Cleantech challenges I mentioned earlier is around identifying and incubating early stage startup companies. There's a number of different ways that we've done this, but I'll highlight two in particular. The first is something called our Entrepreneurs Fast Track, which is a service that's been funded by the UK Department of Energy and Climate Change, and it provides a customised package of support to startups to help them get their technologies to market. And in particular, that's around commercial advice on anything from their business plan or fundraising strategy through to how to expand the team or protect their IP. So there's a piece around commercial advice. There's a second piece around technology development, research and development projects to scale up, demonstrate the technology in a new application, and help to de-risk the technology for customers and investors. And the third is around networking support, so putting companies in touch with potential customers, investors, joint development partners that can help them deliver products at scale as soon as possible. So that service has been running in various guises for almost a decade, and we've looked at a lot of startup companies over that period. So we've assessed more than 3,000 startups, and we've supported around 300. So over that time, we've built up a lot of experience around how to assess companies, around understanding what those companies need to get to market. And I'll come on and talk in some of the case studies around some of the particular things that we've done with startups that we've worked with. But just to mention briefly some of the outcomes that we've achieved, the companies that we've supported have leveraged a lot of private sector investment on the back of the support that we've provided. So over 150 million invested within a year of our support for companies that we felt we made a material difference to. And a lot of the companies that we work with have created a lot of jobs, delivered a lot of carbon reductions in the market. So there's some nice outcomes from the schemes, the Entrepreneurs Fast Track scheme, which has been publicly funded. So that's one way that we've used to help startup companies to commercialise their technology. A more recent initiative that we launched is an incubation partnership with General Electric. It's a $5 million initiative across Europe to find, assess, and incubate the best startup companies that we find in strategic areas of interest for GE. So we've seen, particularly over recent years, increasing interest from corporates in open innovation activity. We've heard from some corporates today around some of the activities that they're pursuing in this area. So this is one model that we've used to try and bring some of the strengths that the corporates have on the one side, and to bring them together with startup companies who are developing really exciting technologies and would benefit from not just the funding that corporates have, but also the technical expertise and the global scale that a lot of corporates already have developed. And to try and buffer that interaction in a way that overcomes the traditional suspicions on both sides. So startups fearing that the corporate's just out to steal their IP or crush them under oppressive quality control or other internal business processes. And from the corporate side, helping them to understand, well, which startups are the really promising ones in this space, what are the key areas of support that they need. And we've developed a variety of tools on the back of that work that we've done to help, for example, on the assessment side. So we've developed a proprietary diagnostic tool which helps us to not just filter the companies to support, but also to identify the areas where support would be most material to them. And one of the recent successes that we've had is Artemis Intelligent Power, which is a hydraulic transmission technology that we helped to refocus from the automotive sector onto the offshore wind sector, which was a lower cost, quicker route to market for the startup company. It was recently acquired as part of Mitsubishi's push into offshore wind as part of a larger £100 million investment that Mitsubishi made in the sector. So the model that I just mentioned is relevant to startups that are already in place and active at the time that we come across them. Sometimes the strategic opportunity is there, but the startups are not yet in place. So a second model that we've used is to create ventures to exploit those strategic opportunities and technology opportunities as they arise. There's two ventures in particular that I mention here. Future Blends, which is basically a waste-derived biofuel, which is developed through a pyrolysis process, where the UK has some world-leading expertise and an opportunity to build on some of the developments that have taken place. So we put together a commercial package around commercialising this opportunity. And are now taking steps to scale the technology, get the results that will encourage other investors to come on board, and to access the opportunity that exists for low carbon waste-derived biofuels. So that's one example of a venture that we've set up to access a market opportunity. The second is 819, which is an organic photovoltaic venture, where we've built on some world-leading expertise at and advances at the University of Cambridge, and partnered with Rhodia, a large chemicals company, to commercialise some innovation around organic photovoltaic, to take that technology that was being developed initially in the University of Cambridge and put a commercial structure around that and enable that technology to get to market. And there's some investments that we've already made alongside Rhodia at a fairly material scale to help get the technology to market. So that's the second model that we've used. A third model, so first model, the venture already exists. The second model, we create the venture. The third model is around opportunities where corporates in particular are interested to access the technology, but they don't really want to own it. It's not their core business. It would just really help them if that technology was developed. So one of the examples that I've used is the Offshore Wind Accelerator, which has an aim to reduce the cost of offshore wind by 10% by 2015. And just by way of background, very roughly speaking, the costs of offshore wind are roughly 25% each on the turbine, on the balance of plant, on the installation and commissioning, and on the operations and maintenance. So the turbine's important, but it's not the only driver in the sector around the cost of energy. So what we've done is come together with 8 international energy companies and again set up a structure that's very cost effective for them and also for the Department of Energy and Climate Change, which has put in a third of the funding. So you have a third of the funding coming from Department of Energy and Climate Change, 2/3 coming from these 8 international energy companies. And if you're one of those energy companies, and they're noted on that slide there, if you're one of those energy companies, for every pound that you put in to develop technologies in these areas of interest to you, you effectively get 12 pounds of R&D spend on the back of that dollar or that pound. So you have 8 companies chipping in, you also get some public funding, and so it's a very cost-effective model that overcomes part of the challenge around commercialising technologies that are not really core business for that one corporate. The process that we went through was to initially identify the opportunity, not just in carbon terms, but in job creation terms, and to then go through an extensive prioritisation exercise to select the 5 areas that would have the most material impact on these 8 international energy companies. I've noted them there, but it's around things like access systems, so how you get on and off turbines safely and easily, and the more easily you can do this, the more days per year you can access your turbine, and so you can reduce your operations and maintenance costs and downtime when the turbines are not producing power. It's also around novel foundations, particularly as we move into deeper waters for some of the round 3 deployments, where we're moving from sort of up to 30-metre depths to more like 30 to 60-metre depths, where it's really pushing the limits of some of the foundation technologies that are available at the moment. It's around electrical systems, wake effects, and cabling. So there's a number of different areas of activity, and some of the areas have already seen demonstrations deployed already. So, for example, we have a Keystone twisted jacket foundation that we supported through the concept stage and worked with the innovator to de-risk the concept. And the foundation is now in the water and is now being demonstrated in Hornsey. The model is very much startup friendly in the sense that the startups that apply keep their IP. The energy companies are not out to own the IP. As I said, it's not their core business, but it makes a big difference to their bottom line if they can reduce the costs of deployment of offshore wind and get more farms out there quicker. So that's a third model that we've used. So I guess thinking back to some of those Cleantech challenges, there's lots of different challenges and there's lots of things that make the sector hard. So our experience over the last decade has been that there's lots of different models that you need to look at to try and bring through technology commercialization in this area. And so just to finish up with some case studies here. This is a company that we've supported over a number of years, Gevolution, which basically has a dual fuel optimizer technology for heavy goods vehicles. And so their technology is an innovative way to deliver a second fuel into the engine, and then to optimize how much of that fuel is injected and combusted at a particular time, so that your truck runs well, even though you're using a second fuel. So great technology. A lot of technology development had gone into it, but Gevolution was struggling to get traction in the market, and part of the challenge was around engaging with those companies that would be able to buy the technology and demonstrate it and scale it up. So we pulled together a round table with lots of potential customers in the sector, and on the back of that, Gevolution got orders from a number of the companies that attended and has demonstrated its technology with Lafarge now, and is rolling the technology out into the market. From Gevolution's point of view, that's great. It's made a big difference to their venture, but it's also pretty nice for Lafarge, who anticipate a 10% fuel saving from rolling out this technology. So a nice opportunity for Gevolution to benefit from getting their technology to market, and from Lafarge to benefit from lower fuel costs. A second company that we've worked with is a company called Lontra. They're developing an energy-efficient compressor. This compressor could be used in lots of different applications. It could be used for general industrial air compression. It could be used for superchargers in vehicles, or it could be used for wastewater aeration. And when we started working with Lontra, they were looking at lots of these different applications that they could pursue. And as a startup company, they couldn't pursue them all at once. So we helped them to prioritize the market segment that was the most appealing beachhead market or initial market for them to target. And we've then helped them to demonstrate that technology through field trials with Severn Trent. So the picture that you see there is a prototype compressor that's recently been delivered to the Severn Trent site for testing. And their interest in the technology is that it has the potential to save 20% plus of wastewater aeration costs. For wastewater companies in the UK, they spend a lot of money and use a lot of energy on wastewater aeration. So this is a very material energy use for them and a material energy saving from this novel technology, which is effectively an innovative rotary compressor for wastewater aeration. We didn't just provide research and development grant support, we also provided them with commercial advice, not just around targeting the market, but also putting interim management in place to help build some traction in the market, and supported them on their fundraising efforts, because it's not cheap getting this sort of technology to market. The good news is that Lontra has now secured its first letters of intent from the water industry, so it's got letters of intent for 10 compressors from Severn Trent, which is pretty encouraging considering that the prototype hasn't actually generated a lot of results on the site yet. So really encouraging validation of their technology from a wastewater company in the UK. And just the final one, I thought as I was in Sweden, I'd better mention a Swedish company. Minesto is developing a really exciting tidal stream energy converter technology. So the company is based here, but they have a big deployment opportunity around the UK because a lot of the resource that they're particularly well suited to accessing is in the UK. Minesto's sweet spot is around accessing slower flowing tidal stream areas that other technologies are not cost effective in. Essentially what the technology does, and the reason I put up a big picture is that often I put up a small picture and people can't really see what's going on, is that you have these wings with a generator attached to the wing underwater, and then a tether that comes down to the seabed, and these wings basically trace a path in the flow. It's like kite surfing if you've seen kite surfing, and the innovation really is around controlling the path of this wing as the tidal stream is coming towards it, controlling that wing so that you're accelerating that generator that sits underneath the wing, so you're effectively like a stationary turbine in a fast flow, you're a moving turbine in a slow flow, in a way that you're not running into problems in slack water, or you're not putting excessive strain on the tether so that the tether breaks. It's a really exciting innovation. It's really difficult to do what they're doing. We've worked with them over a period of years, alongside the Swedish Energy Agency, which has also supported Minesto, in particular to de-risk their technology. And the way we've done that is through tank testing to try and prove out some of the key aspects, and demonstrate that, for example, you can control the flight of these wings underwater, and to then build on that through sea trials in Northern Ireland, making sure that we get the device into the water and generate some results from operation in the sea. And we've also helped them on the commercial side to understand the resource potential, where some of the priority areas for deployment might be, and how they can de-risk their path to market. It's just a few case studies of some of the companies that we've worked with over the years. I'd now like to throw it open to any questions you might have.
Thank you. Let's invite the audience right at this time. Yes?
Oh.
Okay. Would it be interesting for a carbon trust to invest in technology that can save weight, energy and material?
I suspect you're referring to your startup company. So we're interested in lots of innovation in the clean tech sector. Perhaps if I, rather than skipping back through the slides, if I just mention with the partnership that we have with General Electric to incubate startup companies across Europe. It's a pan-European initiative. If the innovation you've described fits within some of the strategic areas of interest for them, then that's certainly something that we'd look at. The way that model works is quite different to what I described with the entrepreneurs fast track service, or perhaps what you heard with the Veolia Innovation Accelerator or some of the other models. It's very much a technology scouting exercise where we'll go out and find companies that we feel align well with GE's strategic interests. I'm happy to discuss further any innovations that you've been developing, and it'd be great to talk to you about some of the things that you're doing. But we're always interested in looking at innovations either for that partnership or for other activities that we may be involved in. I didn't mention a lot of the other things that are going on across the innovation team, so there may be other initiatives that I haven't mentioned that are also relevant to what you're doing.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Then my last question for the day. What do you think is the biggest challenges for startups with new technologies?
Jag kan ta en sån där. Så.
A huge one.
There's a lot of challenges. I mean, funding is a perennial challenge for startups, and it's something that never really goes away until they get to market at scale. I think one challenge that's in the experience that I've had with startup companies is that there's often an underestimation of the amount of work that needs to go into really understanding what the unmet market need is for their technology. So normally startups do have competitors, and if you don't have competitors, then you probably need to think about things a little bit more broadly. So there's always competition, and so addressing what is already out there in the market is important, and really understanding exactly what it is that a particular market segment might need, and whether what you're demonstrating with your technology is de-risking deployment or purchase for them of the innovation that you're developing. So we'll often talk to startup companies that say, "Oh, okay, I've got this great technology. Here's what I've done already, and here's the markets that I'm looking at." But when you really push them on the segment, who they've spoken to, the feedback that they've had from them, and making sure that feedback loop comes back into their deployment in particular, and ensuring that their reference case is anchoring the subsequent commercialization and addressing the particular unmet market need that the customer has, it's sometimes less clear to the startup exactly what it is that they need to do. And so that can either mean that it takes longer for them to get to market, or sometimes they run out of money because they can't do another deployment to build on their initial one to really address what the market needs to know. So I think it's difficult for startups because often they feel as though they don't want to go to a potential customer or to a partner until they've got something that's more developed, and they feel more confident about what they've got. But equally, if you don't have that feedback from the market around what the real unmet market need is, then it's hard to make sure that your technology development is progressing in a way that's relevant to what the market needs. So I think I gave you two challenges there, which is cheating. But
Okay. Thank you so very much, David Aitken. Here you go, piece of chocolate. Thank you.